So the final whistle's just gone. I mean, let's say what you see. That was shit, wasn't it? I mean, let's not dress it up. Let's not pretend. If you're a Scotland fan watching, congratulations. Good point. You still have to beat Croatia. Or, yeah, you probably have to beat Croatia. So that's tough. But for an England fan and from an England perspective, that was bizarre. Not bizarre. The 11 was wrong. For those that watch my Scotland-England 11, this is what I thought we should play on screen there. You can see I would have had... Walker wasn't even in the squad, so I don't know what's happened to Walker. Maybe he's not available. At the back line, Shaw would have come in. That's what he did. Ryzen and Phillips I would have kept the same. I think you need that combative nature in the middle of the pitch. That's absolutely fine. In forward areas, I'd have started Grealish. I'd have started Jadon Sancho, who apparently has gone missing. I don't know where Jadon Sancho is. And I would have started Harry Kane up front with Mason Mount in there as well. I'd have dropped Foden. I'd have dropped Sterling. It's not what he played, obviously. As we bring it up here, then you can see this is what he went for. Pickford in goal, Shaw, Mings, Stones, Reece James, Phillips and Rice were in there, Mount, Sterling, and of course Kane and Foden both came off. Only 2 subs as well. Like that is weird to me. Now, I've been looking through this sort of all game, really, and going through why I think there were the issues and why they were happening. Phil Foden had a pretty average game. Like Foden came off, and people were shocked that Foden had come off. Let's talk through some main points then, and discuss why England couldn't beat Scotland and what that means for them going forward. Like, the reality is 4 points from 2 games. It's not the end of the world. So for me, it was kind of ridiculous, actually. The fact that Reece James has come off the pitch today, being England's most successful passer of the ball, is ridiculous to me. He's in the ball. It's like, this sounds crazy, right? I know Reece James is a good footballer, but it's like Trent is there and they're giving the ball to Trent. The fact he's got 99% pass completion is summed up by the fact that Rice has 94%. Stones, Mings should arguably be higher, actually. Shaw's is 92. Sterling's is 93. The amount of safe passing I've just watched England do for 90 minutes in a game against Scotland, where if you lose it, sure, you put yourself in a difficult position. You draw it, you're on 4 points. You're not going to, like, the chances are you're going to go through now, right? That's kind of settled. And look, Southgate will say our job is to get through the group, which is fair enough. But I mean, uninspiring is the word I would use. Absolutely uninspiring. Harry Kane. Let's start with Harry Kane, right? Like in the last video I did of this against Croatia, I went through and I rated all the team. They all get a 5, apart from Harry Kane, who gets a 4. And you could argue that Sterling should maybe be slightly lower than that. I thought Mason Mount was okay, but Harry Kane, I don't know what's wrong with Harry Kane. I don't know if it's a Harry Kane problem, or if it's an England problem, or if it's just both, right? I don't know if Kane is just worn out, and that means he can't manoeuvre quite as well as he should be doing. What's really interesting to me, and I'm going to bring it back up on screen now, right? The heat maps of both sides I find absolutely fascinating, because as you can see, there is basically blocking by Scotland done really effectively, but it's quite easy to be effective when all of England's play is the ball is basically, you see my mouse right? Yeah, so the ball is coming to this right back position, it's going down the line, it's going back to the right back position, it's going inside, it's going back to the right back position, it's going forward, inside, player turns into a Scotland player, they win the ball back, they boot it away, or they do 3 passes and clear it away, and then repeat. We do the same thing again. Ball goes to the fullback, forward it goes, and that was happening on both sides consistently. There was no penetration in this area of the pitch whatsoever. Jack Grealish came on, and he just played on the left-hand side, played on the touchline. Just, yeah, I'll pick up and go, boys. No, Jack, get in the middle, get around Harry Kane. Anyway, Kane came off because doing absolutely nothing. And I don't really blame Southgate for that decision. I do blame Southgate for the starting 11, and Sancho should have been in there. He's a ball carrier, right? It's so easy to say this afterwards. And when I saw the selection come out, I thought, well, Sterling scored the goal. Maybe it's a case of, giving him the confidence. Even though he'd scored that goal in that first game, he didn't play well against Croatia. Like, get him off. You don't need him in that type of game. To me, you play the likes of Sancho and Grealish, and like Foden or Mount, you can kind of give or take. You get more. The thing is, Mount could have come off for Foden. Mount offers more in a combative sense, right? He's more willing to make a challenge, he's more willing to make a run than Phil Foden. Yes, there are creativity aspects of Phil Foden, there's maybe even goal scoring elements to Foden that you don't get with Mount, but in this type of game, Foden wasn't really doing that either, right? Who came off there was kind of irrelevant. I'd have probably taken them both off. I'd have taken Sterling off as well, right? I'd have put Rashford on the left-hand side, I'd have put Grealish through the middle, I'd have arguably put Sancho on the right-hand side, I'd have switched Bellingham out for one of the central two, because being in the game up to 60 minutes is fine, but like at that point, make a switch, right? Bring someone on who's got that little bit more creativity, plays with a little bit more tempo, right? You could have brought Bellingham and Henderson on. I know Henderson plays similar sort of, he's got this reputation of playing like sideways, backwards passes. Ask Sadio Mane and Mo Salah if that's what he does, because Jordan Henderson is more than willing to play a ball over the top. The speed in which England play is fine against sides like Croatia, where you're trying to nullify the threat that they offer. And with respect to Scotland, who had the best chance in the game, it should be said, it's a great save from Jordan Pickford, they're not offering the same amount of threat level that a Croatia even are offering, right? Or a Spain or a Belgium. So nullifying those sides makes perfect sense, right? And they're trying to stay in those games. Against Scotland, I don't care if England concede, if it means that they're scoring 3 or 4, but England didn't give themselves the chance to do that at any point during this game. And Southgate will be judged viciously for this performance now, because it's the sort of game you look at in the group, and with respect to Scotland, we saw what the Czech Republic did. This is the game that England should have won, not even thought about really. And you can talk about rivalry and you can talk about that sort of thing, and that might sound disrespectful to Scotland, but again, I saw what happened against the Czech Republic. They were really poor against the Czech Republic, and we were decent against Croatia. We could have played better, but we were still very good against Croatia. There wasn't enough guile, creativity, thought, and there was far too much safe. There's a big, like for football over the last year, there's a big crowd in, and there was like, no one wants to make the mistake that's remembered, but equally nobody was willing to create the moment that was remembered, and that was the real disappointment for me. Let's take a look at the heat map again, because this is like this to me. If you're unsure why England were so ineffective, this is why England were ineffective, right? Let me bring up them. Pickford's heat map: James, Stones, Mings, Shaw, Phillips, Rice. That was England tonight. That was all England were tonight. And again, I go back to it. We remove all these guys. We bring in Foden and Mount, and you can see like the amount of impact these boys are having. There is no penetration in central areas. When Grealish came on, didn't get much better. When Rashford came on, didn't get much better. Like this is all we did. We didn't impact this area of the pitch at all. And you can say that Scotland have got bodies in there, right? They're trying to defend that area of the pitch. We let them. And that's the most disappointing thing. We didn't really give them anything to worry about, and they've looked comfortable all game, right? It's a shame. Look, again, the reality is 4 points from the 2 games is probably going to be enough now. Anything against Croatia is a positive to me, and this is why the team I selected would have been the team I selected. I think you give yourself a much better chance of winning that game. Options off the bench still remain, right? We've got those players to bring in. I think the important thing for me is getting the fitness back of Jordan Henderson and Harry Maguire, who I think are not pivotal to England, but extremely important. And the the Czech Republic game to me is an opportunity to use those players, get them a little bit of fitness, get them up to sharpness before you play some of the big hitters in the knockout rounds, right? This draw might end up meaning that England finish second in the group and things look a little rosier. It might end up meaning that England finish third in the group and things get a little bit ugly. Like it's just not perfect. Like if England go out and smash the Czech Republic, nobody remembers this game. This game becomes irrelevant, right? But they have to go and do that now against the Czech Republic side. I watched them today, who look pretty well organised. Look like they've got a threat factor. You couldn't have said that about England tonight. The threat factor was completely non-existent, and it has to change quickly. Again, Southgate is going to come under a lot of criticism. Harry Kane is going to come under a lot of criticism, and I think it's deserved on this occasion. Harry Kane needs to decide what he wants to do. Harry, do you want to come in and try and drop as a 10 and be a part of the build-up play, or do you want to play as the number 9? You as we're seeing now in the first 2 games, and I watched it happen as well in the games pre-tournament, right? And I got criticised for saying this. You can't play as a number 10 and as a number 9, right? You might be like quality enough to do that. You haven't got Son Heung-min around you to help you out, and this England side hasn't had enough time to learn and develop how to play with Harry Kane, whose style has adapted over the last few years, and he is our best player. He is arguably our only world-class player. Sure, you can make arguments for other players, but Harry Kane is definitely our world-class player, and we're not playing to his strengths. We're not getting involved enough, and he himself is not getting involved enough, and that is going to cost England when it comes down to these big games against big sides, when people are going to be looking to him, and that is going to be one of England's problems. Again, if you don't attack the middle, if you don't have shots, if you don't create chances, that's what's going to happen to you in games. And yeah, Scotland had what? Again, just to bring it up, Scotland had more shots in the game. Possession-wise, England dominated, but it was What possession? It doesn't matter. Again, England having more dribbles, more area challenges, but defensively, Scotland were on it. Scotland did the business. They were absolutely fine, and were threatening at times. Right, Che Adams was decent, I thought, in forward areas. The midfield three, right, the ability to keep the ball. 91% for Billy Gilmore, 92 for John McGinn, McGregor on 94, Robertson on 90. When called upon, they were more than happy to keep it. Like, and again, we sort of let them. The press was irrelevant. It's a shame, and changes are going to have to be made now going into this final group game just to get a reaction from some of the boys that haven't performed tonight, and to hopefully there's players sitting on that bench like Henderson, like Sancho, like Bellingham that are going, let me at them, right? Let me at them. Grealish coming on at the point in which he did and just sticking him on the left is, you might as well not have brought him on. It was irrelevant. Anyway, that's going to conclude my match reaction to the England game. I'm disappointed. I'm not broken. You know, we've not lost 3-0. Do you know what I mean? But it's just, it's really underwhelming. And if the save hadn't come in from Pickford, who was trying to win my England Player of the Tournament award, yeah, I don't know where we could have stood. I think England can take more risks in games like this and afford for Scotland to then open up, right? And then there are more spaces to enable yourself, but they just didn't do that. So, yeah, 90 minutes of disappointment. I think Scotland will be happy with that, but they probably need to win as well. No one's coming away from that game delighted, but I'm sure Scotland will be pleased, more than England will be. There we are then. That's England versus Scotland. I'm not sure Phil Foden should have dyed his hair.